the minimum was 25% growth in their output, in their deliverable for us, which was deliveries.
Sure.
And then one guy had almost a 70% growth, and he was already a high performer.
I know you want that kind of growth. Stay tuned. Christopher Vester coming up.
Parts Edge, the power tool for your parts department. Streamline the process to maximize everyone's time and, most importantly, the ROI of your inventory. Reach out to Parts Edge to learn more. Fixed Ops Marketing is the original video marketing and full-service marketing solution for fixed operations. We offer a variety of SEO video and couponing solutions that include automated dealership branded videos, social media automation, custom landing pages, transparent multi-channel Google business profiles, and social media drip campaigns, video SEO, email marketing, lead generation, conversion tools, and much more. Our solutions live within and enhance your website, running 24/7, 365, are fully automated, and are compatible on any device. We manage the details for you, send out reporting automatically, and reach out to you monthly to review results and suggest offers. AI fully functioning admin is always available to you. Reach out to Fixed Ops Marketing today. Also, a thank you to Bailey, Dynatron Software, Dealer Scanning, and Recall Masters. All of these companies can help accelerate your fixed operations growth, and you should reach out to them today. We'd be remiss if we didn't mention Quantum 5, skills that power your team to higher profits and retention. As my previous podcast last week said, training in automotive is broken. Quantum 5 is profit-focused, science-based, and people-centered. Training has been a singular event for too long, and the impact on people and dealers is unfair. Meet Quantum 5, a training program that helps your whole team improve their skills in a way that translates to more profit, greater CSI, retention of customers and employees, and a culture change that impacts the customer experience. A blend of in-person learning experience, creation of a dealership learning community for post-training success, something that's never been done before, sustainment, and goal setting for accountability is the key to unlocking transformative change. The results? Your people sell more, additional appointments are created, your leaders are more effective, service BDCs produce measurable ROI, and your customers gain a better experience, leading to higher CSI. Quantum 5 works this through a 3-step process: assess and design, then implementation, and then sustainment. Community paired with technology to develop greatness. We know this is new. We know it's different. We know that you don't necessarily completely understand how or what we do. Reach out to us today and we'll explain it. Once we show you, you're going to want to be a part of it. Quantum5.ai. Reach out today. Welcome back, everybody. Excited to have our guest with us today, Christopher Vester. Christopher, for those who do not know who you are, if they have not been on LinkedIn and seen your videos or know about your group, give them a little rundown of who you are, where you came from.
All right. I always start off with my personal contract about who I am, which is I'm a bold man who acts with integrity and from love, standing as a beacon pointing to God's grace and mercy individually. My title would be visionary of the Huber Vester Auto Group. So my job is to kind of look and see where I feel like the business itself is headed, the automotive industry is headed, and making sure that we're prepared for that. And by doing that, it's studying all the time. constantly learning, constantly growing, constantly looking for new opportunities and on the horizon, but not so far on the horizon that puts us so far ahead that the customer's left behind, and that's a fine line to walk sometimes. But that's what I do. And overall, I feel like that, if I would say our group was known as anything, it would be a leadership development company disguised as a car dealership. I believe if we teach people and lead people well to become better leaders of themselves, then they will lead others well. And if someone ended up leaving our organization, I hope we had some type of an impact on how they lead themselves.
That's awesome. I love that. A leadership development company disguised as an auto dealership.
Yep.
So tell me a little bit more about that. How do you cultivate that type of culture within your group?
Yeah. So in 2017, we started doing for the first time in our business, and we've been around since 1992. So a long time before we decided to figure out really who we were and strategically go, hey, what's next? Who are we? How do we do things? And that led us to creating, really digging deep and creating core values and a mission purpose statement. And through that process, one of the things in one of our meetings, quarterly meetings, one time the guy that was facilitating the meeting, he asked, who in here has a personal development plan? And that's something that's near and dear to my heart, is constant personal development, because John Maxwell says, hey, it doesn't happen on purpose. I mean, it doesn't happen by accident. It has to happen on purpose.
Mm-hmm.
And I was the only one of our leadership that raised their hand, which really scared the bejesus out of me. Like, oh my gosh, So it began there, just with the leadership team as a whole. Hey, let's put together a personal development plan for our group as a whole, so that we're kind of reading the same books, listening to the same podcasts that may or may not be automotive focused.
Mm-hmm.
And then fast forward about 3 years, one of the guys in the group said, hey man, I think there's some people that just need to get in front of you in our organization. Like, they're asking for one-on-one time, one-on-one coaching, which is a little bit different for, a situation where you got a guy that's in I won't say in charge of the whole company, but them sitting down on a one-on-one basis with like a salesperson and teaching him how to personally develop,
Sure. Mm-hmm.
But so we put together what we call LDD, Leadership Development Days.
Okay.
It started out, the first one was a group of 6 salespeople, and I coached them on 4 different areas of their life. I coached them on their calibration, which is their mental or spiritual walk. Like, where are they in their mental mindset space? Or, hey, some of it's going to be spiritual development. Where are they in their faith walk? Second thing that we work on is condition. Where are they physically? How do they show up in their physical condition?
Mm-hmm.
The next thing is their connection. One relationship that they want to work on for 12 weeks, because they're in there with me for 24. We do 12-week blocks, but we pick one thing over 12 weeks, and it's one relationship they want to really do a deep dive into. And then the last thing is contribution, which is how do they show up in their community, in their family, at work. So they may or may not get paid for that particular initiative that they grow in.
Yeah.
But it's how do they show up? And we just work on those 4 things. Well, all of those salespeople that came through that, notice I didn't say anything about business. Nowhere in there did we talk about how to sell more cars. Nowhere in there did we talk about how to do better follow-up. Nowhere in there, we don't talk about those things.
Yeah.
But by an extension of working on their mental headspace and their mindset, their condition, like physically being active, working on one relationship, usually it's a spouse, and things are good at home, things are good at work, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then how do they show up? Only one time have I picked somebody that said, hey, I want to work on this at work. Everybody else has always been how they show up in their community. Like, they want to do more community service, or they want to show up better at their church, or like it's not always work, but it all bleeds into work. Mm-hmm. But every single one of those guys had about a 25, the minimum was 25% growth in their output, in their deliverable for us, which was deliveries.
Sure.
And then one guy had almost a 70% growth, and he was already a high performer.
Yeah.
But it helps them maintain focus and self-leadership, which just bled into work. So that started in May of last year, May of 2021. And at this point, we've had about 48 people that have come through.
Awesome.
And some of them are there for FaceTime, and it gets real obvious. But the ones that put in the work, like they can't help but be a different person after 24 weeks of that. And the goal is, like, the plan is for a year. And I tell them all, hey, this is the preschool version of personal development and growth. Like, this is where you get started so that you can work on a foundational level of, hey, if I can get good in these 4 areas, then I can begin to pile on things to that. And we understand that, hey, when you implement something new, you got to eliminate something old. So as they implement new things in their life that are helping them develop, they're eliminating a lot of things that are taking away from their development.
Sure.
And that pruning over time just leads to more productivity.
Yeah, I love that approach where it's not it's not business centric, and yet the outcome is going to be a better person at your business. Right. If you're a good person at home, you're not going to be a bad person in business.
Exactly.
It's not going to work that way. And it's unfortunate that sometimes it's a little too easy to appear as a good person at work and not a good person outside of work. But those always come to the surface. Right. And so the fact that you're working on the people rather than the business, right? Just like the E-Myth book Revisited says you have to work on your business, not in your business, right? You're doing that same type of thing. You're working on the people, and that is going to directly affect how your business is. And I've got to believe that has to have a massive effect on your overall retention of your team members, which is obviously a giant word these days. And for groups like yours, you've always understood that retention of your team is extremely important. Turning over team members year after year does nothing for your customers. Nobody likes coming into a place where it's a new face every single time they drive their car in.
Yeah, for sure. And that's been our experience. We've got this year, and we've had several that, like I said, we came to Wilson, our town. We purchased our first dealership here in 1996. So this past year, 2021, we celebrated 3 individuals that have been with us since the beginning, 25 years with us. Awesome. All in the fixed ops side. And then that was with our first dealership. And then we added on our Toyota and our Chevrolet dealership in 2002 and 2003, I believe, are the years. So this year we're going to see people that have been with us that long, and so in fact, we had a guy that retired last year. So he retired at 19 years with us, if he, because he had been with us since the beginning. So we have a ton of retention. Our average employee on the fixed ops side, in all the dealerships combined, is probably 6 or 7 years on average. Techs even longer than that. I mean, we've got techs that have been with us I think I've got 4 this year that are celebrating 15 years.
Well, that's awesome.
And then I've got salespeople that are celebrating 10 and 12 years with us. And I've got one salesperson this year is his 25th year with us.
Wow.
And he's our number one guy, obviously. I mean, he's averages 40 cars a month, never has to take a lot up. Everybody's repeat and referral. And guess what? They come to buy from him because he's branded himself. Right. Mm-hmm. And by default, we sell another car in our group. I'm okay that they come in asking for Alton. Like, great. Hallelujah.
Absolutely.
Hallelujah. It's my job to keep him.
Right. There you go.
So
yeah, he keeps the customers coming and you keep him coming back.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely. That's it's so great to see that within this industry that accepted for so long the transient nature of a lot of positions. That that was never a sustainable model, as you now see in shortages that we have around the industry.
Yes.
What are some of the things that you're doing? Do you have career paths for your teams and things?
We do. And like, so every position has a career path, I would say, associated with it, and it's laid out. But specifically, probably the hardest thing to recruit for right now is sales positions, because the idea of commissionable sales scares a lot of people.
Sure.
And so, coming up with the idea of a product specialist pay plan, which is more of a, truly, it is a salary-based position with levels of achievement that lead to a commission. But that has a very clear career path laid out for it, that we've actually said, hey, after this many months and this level of achievement, you're able, like, it's very, very clear how that's laid out. Because when we're attracting a new person to the automotive space, that's going to be customer facing in the sales department, but not necessarily a quote unquote salesman.
Yeah.
How do we make them feel secure? And hey, this is, like, I know where my income is. I know what my job duties are. I know what it takes to perform. I know what my measurables are. And hey, 3 years from now, I can go, like, I can carry this to my parents, because you've got to figure, hey, we're trying to attract that 25 to 28-year-old person. Mm-hmm. Some of them have most of them have very close relationships with their parents. Right. And they can say, hey, if I'm here 3 years, this is the level of income and an award system and recognition system that this company offers me.
Yeah. And
there's not a parent that wouldn't go, yeah, go do that. Right. Like, they wouldn't even care that it's automotive, because automotive still has an ugly, nasty smell to it sometimes, mm-hmm. So yeah, for sure, it's about laying out a career path and letting people understand who they're coming to work for. So the way that we recruit's a little bit different. We recruit based on our culture, based on the company core values, based on our mission statement.
Yeah.
And people that we're bringing into the organization now, that's what's appealing to them. We recently added a CFO, which we've never had a CFO before. We've had controllers and that kind of thing, but we've mm-hmm. never had someone that was specifically like a C-level. Like that's a different level of responsibilities and duties and knowledge, right? Yeah. And when we started recruiting for that, like, it took us 6 months to get that person to say yes. But mm-hmm. then when she got here, say, hey, what brought you? She goes, like, everything they told me about how you guys showed up in the community and how you took care of your employees and all that. Like, I did the backside investigation and it was true. Mm. And I want to be a part of something like that. Yeah. And when you ask her now, hey, what makes you excited to be here? Well, everything they told me was true. And it is about how we do show up in the community and mm-hmm. how we're trying to give a customer a different experience and how we want to take care of our employees and how we want to grow the employee. So it's, yes, there is a career path, but it's more than anything, it's about holding true to who you say you are once they get here. I think a lot of times management of dealerships or leadership of dealerships, like, they recruit on these promises,
mm-hmm.
right? And then typical to the automotive space, we promise them the world to get them to say yes, and then when they get here, we're like, hey, good job, you're here. Here's your pen. Good luck.
Right.
And it's just that's because it's been who the automotive space has been for such a long time. Like overcoming that's a challenge. But yes, giving them a career path for sure makes a difference.
Yeah.
Especially in fixed ops. Like
mm-hmm.
we're getting ready to start an internship program. Like, we're in the process right now of developing of what that even looks like, to get in front of high school kids and mm-hmm. community college kids and say, hey, like, we're offering an internship to help pay for your school and help you develop yourself, help you get your education in exchange for coming to work for us.
Yeah.
But we got to figure out how it looks. But we're, the rock for us this quarter is putting that in place by January 1. But hey, when you come here, here's the career path. Technicians right now are extremely difficult to come by.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And I tell our guys all the time, 3 years ago, if we'd have been hiring lube techs, you'd have bays full of B+ techs.
Right.
Because they'd have 3 years worth of experience and knowledge and
Mhm.
training and all that. So the suffering that we're feeling right now is, it's a suffer right now, but it's a suffer that we created 3 years ago because we didn't look at the growth pattern of what we needed,
Right. Are you connected with Ed Roberts at all?
I don't, the name sounds familiar, but I don't know.
So I'll make that connection for you.
Okay, cool.
He's the Chief Operations Officer of Bozard Ford Lincoln in Florida. Absolutely incredible program that they have for growing their own techs.
Awesome.
Just an amazing program. And I'll get you guys connected up because I'm sure he can help you develop that program, at least give you some ideas of things that have worked well for him.
Amazing. Awesome.
I spoke at a community college automotive program last week, and it was mind blowing to me. There were two people. There were 20 kids in there, and I say kids. There were two people in there that were over 30 years old that were starting a second career. Two of them, one of them had a relationship with a dealership. One of them had a part-time job at a dealership. The other 18 had no relationship at all with a dealership anywhere.
Wow.
And now came from the dealership world. I spent 30 plus years in fixed ops and with Quantum 5 doing training and stuff. Now I'm in there as myself and as Quantum 5. And I can't believe that in this area where I am, there are 15 dealerships within 10 miles of here, and nobody has come in to talk to these kids who are all bright-eyed about being in this industry.
Right.
It's something that definitely needs to change. I think you kind of alluded to it when you said managers and corrected yourself to leaders in this business. Right. There's still a lot more managers than there are leaders within automotive, probably within a lot of industries, but I don't have that experience.
Right.
And there's training that needs to go in there to help these managers, right? Because along the way, we've all been guilty of it. You had a great service advisor and you needed a manager's position filled, and that was the person that filled the position. And maybe you had all the best intentions of giving them some training and help, and you're going to show them what you learned. And people get busy, right? And that falls by the wayside. And the only way that's going to change is by having programs like what you're talking about, and having that plan to be able to actually follow through. It can't just be something in your head that says, oh, I'm going to help them. It has to be a laid out plan. And then the career path plays into that. So they understand what their deliverables are for them to move up the next step. Right. And they understand what your deliverables are, right? We both play a part in that. We both have things that we need to bring to the table and deliver for them to move up to the next step.
For sure.
And it's great to see that that you're getting into that and moving that way. It's definitely something this industry needs more of.
Yeah, I've been involved with it's called the Wilson Education Partnership, but it's businesses and education leaders that come together to say, hey, how do we keep these kids that are graduating? I mean, it's 10,000 kids graduating from high school every single year from the 3 local high schools. How do we keep them and know that there's a place for them in Wilson, available for employment? And so about 3 years ago, well, it's the year before COVID. Like I went to, there's only one high school that has auto tech, but all 3 high schools have kids that go through that program. So if there's kids at the other high schools that express an interest, they go to this one high school to go through that program. And taking technicians, advisors, and my service managers into that system and saying, hey, this is who we are. This is what we're about. Mm-hmm. And the hope was 2019 is, hey, we're going to do this 3 or 4 times a year. Like we got to get in front of them early to encourage their growth. When you walk into the level 1 and there's 18 high school kids there, they're fresh, brand new, and they're brand new to learning. And then you go to level 2 and it's 9. Right. And you're seeing it. Well, it's because they didn't see a future in it. Right. If you've got there's guys that are in there going, hey, this is where I started with this industry in this company. And here I am 15 years later, and I'm managing a department. And we've got a guy that started out as as a porter for us delivering parts and customers back to their job. And he's my fixed ops director, 15 years later, so.
Awesome. Yeah. Yeah. I worked for a guy who owned 7 dealerships who started as a tech.
Wow. That's cool.
And I told that story to the kids in the college because it's my buddy is the one who runs the program there. And he actually was one of my techs back in the day. Even he was like, they tell these kids you can start out as a lube tech and own a dealership. And he's like, I know that's not realistic. And I'm like, John, I got to tell you something. One of the dealerships that you worked for me at is owned by a guy who started as a tech. So you don't even realize it, but you actually worked for somebody who did follow that career path,
right,
and move themselves up. And it's one of the incredible things about this business that you can start at literally the bottom and go all the way to the top. But it's also one of the things that I see as something that causes some of the limits within our business, because I think sometimes people look at it as I get into it so easily with no education and things. And I've kind of moved myself to maybe, level B, right? But to go to level A now requires some more effort, some more learning and things. And I think sometimes people get stuck in the fact that, well, I didn't need that when I got here. I didn't need these courses. I didn't need this leadership development day with sitting with Christopher and listening to this stuff. Why would I need that now? I can find that stuff on my own. How do you break through those types of mindsets?
Well, I always kind of relate it to, I use preschool and kindergarten analogies a lot, and it's, hey, at some point you knew your colors, you knew your numbers, and you knew your ABCs. And then it was time to move to first grade, but you don't move out of first grade until there's a curriculum that you've mastered and you show proficiency in.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want to get to graduate school? Like, how far do you want to go? Because it is up to you. Like, there is no limit except your desire to move forward. And but it's not going to happen by accident. You got to go after it with purpose. But being able to sit down and have those conversations to see, not everybody wants to be right. And you meet them where they are. You recognize, hey, this is like the guy that's been with me 25 years selling 40 plus cars a month has zero interest in being a manager.
Sure.
None.
Yep.
I want to meet people every day. I want to deal with my customers every day. I want to work the schedule I want to work. Because in our organization, the higher you achieve, the more time off we give away weeks of paid vacation at a certain level of achievement, and so we're pushing them. Hey, go take your time, go take your time, go take your time.
Yeah.
He doesn't want to lose that. But yeah, if you're having that intentional conversation, figuring out where do they want to be, which is over and above even the career path conversation,
Yeah.
But you're right. You didn't need it to get in the door. Like, you didn't need anything to get into kindergarten, except I think you have to be potty trained. I think that's the only requirement, right? So at least you came to us potty trained, and now, like, we got to get you the rest of the way. But you tell me where you want to graduate at. Do you want to graduate 6th grade? Do you want to graduate high school? Where do you want to end up? And let's figure out what is it going to take to get there. And then you can always use you told me. It's the most powerful statement in the world. Having a closing conversation with someone is, hey, you told me, right? Well, you told me you wanted to get to graduate school. Like the actions aren't there, So but again, it's about having those development conversations, And you're right; they don't have to participate. It's all voluntary. We don't ask. There's no forcing anybody to come. When I send out the book club, we call it book club, but the leadership team. My goal is for the whole leadership team to read a book, at least one book a month together, right? To kind of get us all collectively on the same mindset. Well, I send that information out to almost everybody in the organization. It's not hey, there's no assignment, right? Hey, but this is what we're doing. and hopefully if 5 people read it, they can come and be exposed and like open their mindset. My dad started this organization, and he's always gotten really excited when someone increased and grew their livelihood, increased and grew their like when they bought a nice house, or like he's always, and I've always enjoyed it when I see somebody grow their mindset. So it's if I can see somebody just expand their way of thinking because they got exposed to something that they never had heard before.
Right.
And then it may open up how willing they are to doing that.
Yeah. And that's usually the way it happens, right? Is usually once you start opening your mind to those other things, there's a lot of things a lot of dots that start to connect. Right. And I love what you said about having to understand where they do want to go. Do they want to go past 6th grade? Do they want to go past high school? Understanding what your team actually wants. You mentioned your top sales guy that has no interest in being a manager. One of the stores that I was at, I had an incredible service advisor. It just, one of those guys who, like you said, the customers come in and asked for him. The customers used to come in and they would wait to talk to him.
Oh, that's lovely.
It was awesome. And he had the most gross profit every month. He sold the most parts in the region, not just at our store, and gave out the least amount of discounts. Right? It's kind of funny. But he was another one, like he expressed some interest about being a manager. And we went through some things, and after going through some things, he was like, you know what? I want to stay on the desk. I don't want to do all this other stuff. I like doing what I'm doing on the desk. And he has since I left that store a few years ago, and he's actually now the service director. And I still bring my vehicle there, and I'll talk to him. And there are days when I go in there when he's like, man, I should have stayed on the desk. Right. But understanding where people are and what they want, what their expectations are. We talk a lot about millennials and things, and that's all about just understanding the generation, right? It's understanding what they care about, where they want to be, and what means something to them, because it's not always money. It's not always time off. Sometimes it's about being out in the community doing something. Who knows? But that's our job to figure out what it is that matters to them, right? By being involved and knowing your teams.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, for sure. Love that you guys are going about it that way. On the business side of things, what are you seeing out there in the automotive industry?
Man, so it's probably I say all the time, the automotive dealers are pretty resilient. Like we run into problems there's always something.
Yep.
2 years ago it was COVID, and now it's shortages, and somebody asked me the other day, have you ever seen shortages like this? I was like, yeah, I lived through the Honda tsunami. Like I knew what it was like.
Right. I was working at an Acura store when that happened. I feel the pain.
Yeah. So, I remember some of that. And so as we go through those, we learn how to bob and weave and how to stay afloat. The push towards electric from the government, imposing that more than, that's probably, I think one of the first times I can say in history that I've seen something get imposed that I don't think the customer has as much interest in as the government does.
Yep.
And if we looked at the real stats, for 20 years, almost 30 years, we've been pushing an agenda of, hey, we've got to get better at moving away from fossil fuels. Mm-hmm. And in that time, we've decreased our dependence on fossil fuels by 2%. Are we really trying to get away from it? And even when it comes to the EV side of things, which I'll sell whatever they put in front of us that the customer wants. Hey, I'm not anti-EV. In fact, I like that new Hummer's awesome, right? Yeah. But I think if we deep dive into, okay, number one, the heavy metal usage, like we've got to have heavy metals, which means more mining.
Yep.
Okay, well, more mining means more fossil fuels getting burned, because that's not going to get mined by electric vehicles.
Nope.
And where are we getting it from? The number one supply is China. Now we have those heavy metals here in America, but I promise you, you go try to dig anywhere they are, and they're going to say, no, you can't dig here.
Can't dig there. No. Nope.
So if we're going to get less dependent upon, fuel sources from outside of the United States, it's just going to make it worse. And it's China, Yeah. So if we look at the macroeconomic of that, it doesn't make long-term sense, regardless of how you feel about the environment. Like there's like nobody's, maybe they have thought all the way through and they just want to push, period, But yeah, the push towards EV is interesting to me, because it's probably the first time it's not driven by consumer. I think for sure there's been times where more efficient has been driven by the consumer. It always will be like, hey, let's get more efficient because gasoline prices are real,
right?
But I don't know that, like, hey, if they're going to plug it in and charge at home, that's going to be a cost. So it's like,
yeah.
So yeah, that's really interesting. How that's going to affect if the shift happens as big as they say it will, which infrastructure wise, I don't think we're there.
No.
What does that mean for the fixed operations side? Because it's more plug and play. It's less turning of a wrench, So what does that mean for profitability? Because we all know that 70 cents of the dollar is saved and kept in the fixed op size versus 10 cents of the dollar in the sales side.
Right.
So I think it's definitely on the horizon and staying ahead of it. Especially when it comes to the way that the manufacturers feel like, hey, because Tesla's an EV, we should sell it like Tesla. We should sell it directly to the consumer.
Yeah.
In the state of North Carolina, we have probably the best franchise laws out there. But it's still, I'm a member of the board of our NCADA, and it's been on our radar for years of, hey, we got to make sure that the franchise laws protect the consumer. And that's what they're there. They think it's to protect the franchise, but it's really protection of the consumer.
Sure.
Elon Musk, who's amazing and brilliant, but he said forever, like, my business model doesn't work for long.
Yeah.
Because eventually I've got to have dealers, because I've got to be able to service the number of customers that I want to get to selling. So he's even said that,
right?
But it's like the OEMs want to follow that path, thinking, hey, if we start when it's small, by the time it grows, like, we won't need the dealers anymore.
Yeah, we'll have our own service centers
and I think the long term, like, they do a really good job of selling to the dealer because we can't say no,
right?
The consumer has the right to go no.
Yeah.
And we as dealers, face to face, shaking hands, flesh to flesh, eyeball to eyeball, we understand how to navigate those waters, because a lot of times when we navigate those waters, it's because we show up in the community in a way that they see a value.
Right.
So they're less likely to say no. But like, getting them to get Ford to sponsor the local soccer, like, that's
not going to happen.
Yeah. So I think challenges that I see on the forefront are OEMs trying to sell direct, based on the fact that they're pushing electric vehicles hard. And this whole supply chain issue. Toyota does a really good job of keeping us. We're a Southeast Toyota dealer. They do a really good job, an amazing job at communicating with us what to expect. Like, this is probably going to be through 2023. This is the number of day supply you can see, and here's how to navigate it. Like, their communication level is superb. Honda's probably one step below that, and it's more for them. It's less about the chip issue, but it's about shipping. Like, we've had cars sitting in a rail yard for 20 days waiting for a truck.
Wow,
that's crazy. But it is more of a question mark with Honda about, like, when are the cars going to get here? And with Chevrolet, God bless them, I love their product, but when we ask them questions, they're like, "Well, no." and so, trying to navigate the answer of, I don't know, But we do know that through 2023, it's going to be an issue.
Yeah.
So then you add that into what's going on inflationary wise and recessionary cycle wise. Like how does all that play out?
Yeah.
It's a lot, and I mean, those are the things that we've got on our radar is, hey, what's the economy looking like in the next, 18 to 24 months?
Mm-hmm.
What the supply chain affect us is negatively because, hey, if the economy slows, there's going to be less demand. So what does that look like?
Right.
How do we serve the customer well? Because it's about selling used cars right now,
Mm-hmm.
Sourcing and getting used vehicles. And then, OEM straight manufacturer directly to consumer. How do we get ahead of that, in the franchise system? Letting the customer know that it's about protecting them. It's not about us. It's 100% about the customer. So
yeah. And you would hope that we can get through that message to the consumers before it goes too far to the direct to consumer side, and then they start realizing, wow, there are 1,000 drawbacks to this
Right.
system that I didn't have when I was going to my local dealership.
I just spoke to one of the OEMs that when we ask questions as a dealer, we get, I don't know. How's that going to work for the consumer? You're going to call that OEM and they go, well, I don't know. Like that doesn't work.
No, definitely not. And I think your point about EVs is well taken. I am also on the side of I don't believe that EVs are the future of the car business. I think something else will come and take its place that makes much more sense than EVs. Anybody that believes that they're saving the environment by buying an EV has some more research to do, because there's a whole lot of damage being done to the earth to produce their EV, as well as a whole lot more fossil fuels being burned just to keep it charged. So it's kind of like when solar started. That was another that wasn't consumer demand that started the solar revolution either. It was government pushing there that started that. And you can cover the earth with solar panels and not produce enough energy to run this world. So
it's math, it's just math, but I think it's crazy interesting how things get pushed through, for sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. But as you said, dealerships are resilient. And I started in this industry in '87. I've seen a lot of changes from the first time that I wrote a repair order on ADP,
right.
And literally had the people from ADP telling us, you can get rid of that pen now. You don't need that anymore. Oh, it's 2023, and I'm
still have a pen.
I've gone to an electronic notebook, but I still have pens and sticky notes here too. So
amen.
Still writing stuff.
Thank God for Remarkables, man. I love those.
That's what this is. I love this thing. So on the other side of the business, on the fixed op side of the business, EVs obviously are going to make some changes in how we look at service, but it's always going to be a relationship business, right?
Yes.
It's always going to be having that relationship with the customer, so they want to come back to see you, so they see you as the expert for their vehicle. That's the opportunity that I see for us as dealerships with the EVs, as they're never going to take over, in my opinion. They're never going to take over, but they're certainly going to creep in. And I think it's our opportunity to not make the mistake we made with tires years ago and say, just go somewhere else and get your tires. You can get them cheaper somewhere else. Don't come to us.
Amen.
And now we've spent millions of dollars trying to get them back into our stores to buy tires.
Right.
And I see EVs as the same way. Like we need to become the expert. There's no aftermarket shop out there that is going to be able to service an EV in the next 10 years safely and effectively, because it's going to be cost prohibitive for them when they try to purchase the equipment to do it. So this is our opportunity to really pull our customers back in and show them what we can really do, right? Show them that we don't need a nail salon in our dealership to make it a pleasant experience. That we can be the people who can actually take care of their cars, that they can look to trust to take care of their cars, their daughter's cars, their husband's cars. Anybody within their family, as I mentioned Ed Roberts earlier, Ed Roberts says, we want to own their garage, right? Doesn't matter whether they've got a Toyota or Chevy, a Tesla in there. We want to own that garage. And that just gets another family member coming into our store, right? And another opportunity to build a relationship. And if it's a car that we can't service a lot on, fine. Then when it's time to turn, and we've made that relationship, and hopefully we can turn them into one of our brands. But
that's right.
That's our opportunity. Become the EV experts, and become trusted partners with our customers. Right. And there's a lot of ways for us to do that. And I love the things that your group is doing to teach people that leadership side of things, but because that's going to permeate through everything. Right. And if you're taking care of them, they're going to take care of your customers are going to take care of you
every time. And
it never works the other way, right?
Ever. It's never the other way around.
Never. I used to say at every store that I got to that, they were like, well, we need to make a lot of gross. Okay, well, we got to fix CSI, because it's never going to work the other way. We're never going to get a lot of gross and then have good CSI. We've got to have the good CSI to make the good gross. That's the way the atoms flow.
That's truth.
So good stuff. Well, Chris, I appreciate your time. It's been a great conversation.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for the invitation.
Absolutely. People want to reach out and learn more about you or about the group. What's the best place for them to go?
Either LinkedIn or my Instagram. I'm active. I'm pretty active on both, pretty effectively. And if they're listening and what I've said appeals to them, they want to apply for a job, they can just go to our website. Our website's hv.auto. There's no .com at the end, so we made it fancy. hv.auto. And my Instagram is at HVAuto COO. And then on LinkedIn, they can just look me up by my name. My mug is on there. Like, you can't miss my picture.
A lot of good videos you have up on LinkedIn that I've watched over the last few years.
I appreciate that. Thank you, sir.
Good stuff. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah. Wow. Am I right on that one? Great episode there of 5 to Thrive, kicking off the release of 5 to Thrive. Only more great things coming. Next week, Joe Shaker, founder of Shaker Auto Group and True Video. We're going to discuss the video MPI and the impacts on your service departments. Thanks for being with us. Talk to you next week.